Ending the tyranny. So a question came to me when I asked, what are some of the things you want me to share, was how do we stop all this? How do we stop for instance, the police seeming to disregard living, breathing men and women in so many ways? And to offer a solution to that is, in one sense, I'm going to reframe this whole concept about police and what we believe about them and what they don't even know about them. So police comes from the word like policy, okay? P-O-L-I-C-Y would be policy, right? Policy, police, you know, in that same sense. And that's essentially what they're guided by. So we grew up, we got this little book when we were like probably in kindergarten. Everybody probably remembers that. The people in our lives, right? The police officer, the doctor, the teacher, the dentist. We were literally being programmed to how life would be. They called it education because they were programming us to become educated in certain ways. Now, as you got older, people's opinions changed, his story changes, and we've started to add some different dynamics into the education to be more all-encompassing. We have, Black History Month, then we have Pride Month. We have special things now that we think are educating us, but they're more kind of like appeasing us. And the story of the police that we've grown up with, the policy protectors, are to serve and protect. Essentially, they are protecting the crown in Canada. They're protecting the governments, the organization, the corporations. And a corporation is like a corpse. It's dead. A corporation. A corpse is dead. So a corporation has limited liability. So if you've never, there's partnerships, there's sole proprietorships, and there's corporations if you go into business. And so a good business person, as I was taught, wants to really have a corporation because you have limited liability. You can personally, as an individual, not be held responsible for anything your business does in the corporation. And that's essentially, if you go get your police act in the area in your jurisdiction, and you read the police act, and you look at the words that are used in the police act, you're going to discover that who they report to and who they are protecting is the corporation, which is the Crown Corporation, which is the Canadian Government Corporation. It's the justice ministers, it's the attorney generals, it's everybody you think that they should be wanting to take down. And then you're wondering why they're penalizing us. Because essentially, they are there to generate, in so many ways, revenue. Revenue. That's why they ticket us, right? You've heard that one. Oh, some cases, the new guy on the block, on the police, who really wants to be there to be a superhero, gets caught up in the system. So there are good-hearted souls, like the Regina, Saskatoon, Nathan, that stepped down from the police there because, as he said, he wanted to be a superhero and he loved helping, grabbing somebody before they committed suicide, things like that. And yet he did always feel that this system wasn't quite jiving. So somebody becomes a doctor because they want to help people, and then they get into the system of all these rules and regulations, and then you discover, like Dr. Patrick Phillips, that he, at a very, he's just 30 or 31, is stepping out and speaking his truth, and he's already got to, he told me he had to grieve his medical career, all his, school debt, by, knowing that he could be reprimanded by the system for speaking out against the system. That's the issue with the system. So essentially, if you keep looking at the system as real and it is legal, it's not lawful. We've been taught that it's the law, but it's a color of law. It is maritime law. It treats us like we're a boat or a ship, and it puts us into contract. So when each of us starts to learn how to know who we are, that you are a living, breathing woman or man, or living, breathing being, sentient being, however you want to describe your beingness, then as you know that you're a living, breathing, and I say living, breathing because I know there are lots of bodies out there that already are something other than a living, breathing soul. So that's my personal experience. I've seen it many times where I'm going, wow, that is great AI. Wow. Or, you know, we can call it other things. But essentially, as a living, breathing, when we were born as babies, we were living and breathing, right? We were born living and breathing. Then our parents gave us a name, and then our parents registered us in a system because they were told to. And like so many people do, they just do what they're told because they're also told way back then, well, if you don't do this, the government is going to hold you responsible. You know, you're going to break the law. All these things, they're always threatened. If you really look at so many things you were told to do, there was always a threat hanging over your head. That's the key one to know, that that is a legal thing versus lawful. Because lawful is land, air, water, okay? And as a living, breathing person, land, I'm putting up there, air, land, here, air, water, law, is what we were given dominion over. Dominion over, each of us. This is our world, okay? And in our world, we get to start to realize that this is the fictitious world over here. And these police over here think they have power over us because we unknowingly have consented to them because we haven't stopped going along with them, right? When you realize, it's like if you're in an abusive situation and you go, holy moly, I'm in an abusive relationship. What am I doing? I got to get out of here. Well, that's the same thing now. The light bulbs are going on for people. They're going, wow, I've felt for a long time the system patronizes, you know, certain people. The system, it's got essential and non-essential. The system plays by its own rules. You know, we've had many justifications for the system. The system has been just outrageous when it comes to Black lives, right? Hence Black Lives Matter and Indigenous lives. Oh my gosh, the 215, that's just a minuscule. There were millions that were massacred. I'm sure of it. We probably had the greatest genocide here in Canada. But we didn't know about that because we were educated in a certain history. And one of those things, like in history that we were educated was the story they wanted us to know about the original people. If you watch the other video that I posted from Stuart of the Wolf Clan, is that he spoke a real clear truth that most of history, the English were dirty. You know, they wore wigs, they put makeup on, they wore, you know, costumes. They were dirty. They were weak. They were small. They were, you know, diseased when they got to Australia. You know, things like that. They were always hurting. Yet the original people knew how to be one with the land. They energetically revered their mother. They were connected. And that would have just blown them away, because how did they know how to be so healthy and strong without seeming to have any of the things that this system over here had, right? So it clearly had to do its best to undermine the whole thing. And one of those ways is with weapons, right? And to continue to create technology. So when you realize that this over here, this system is completely fictitious, okay? And you start to see it, like really see it, that they have made you believe that this is true. They made us believe that Canada was founded on these wonderful principles. Now we know that John A. Macdonald was a was a friggin' criminal, right? I don't care if he was the first prime minister. He, I don't even, I'm sure there's so many things that he did, but he did, like, he is responsible for the massacre and the decimation of a whole culture, of generations of anguish and mental health and sickness and disease. He was the prime minister of all that. Now, he may have been the prime minister of all that, and other people were still working behind him as he was under the influence, like so many other things. But you know what? If you're going to take the glory, you also got to take the fall. So in this, recognizing there is no Canadian Constitution, right? And every country is different. There's in Germany, I don't think they were ever not occupied. In Australia, they've realized that their information has been is inappropriate, and they're all claiming back things. And as you realize, you start to claim what you know is yours, because if you're on the land right now, you're on the land, and that's your land. You're indigenous to that land. This is your land, your living, breathing rights, and they have violated your property. Okay? Now, knowing that and being that have to come into alignment, right? So that's part of, I think I'm going to be hosting, practice, like we're going to be hosting these sessions where we can get together in groups and we can practice the language. So I guess we've been doing this physically, but we'll do it virtually too. Is the language to make sure that you become unspelled, because that's what they like to do. Do you ever realize if you ever stop by a police officer, they want you to identify. They want you to identify, and they're like, identify, identify, identify. They keep saying it over and over again because they really want it, like, identify, identify or I'll arrest you, and identify or I'll detain you. And essentially, identify is they want you to identify as the name on your birth certificate. And you say, I'm a living, breathing woman. I'm a living, breathing woman. They're like, what's your name? I am a living, breathing woman. You wanted me to identify. I'm identifying. I'm a living, breathing woman. Who are you? Am I your property? Am I your property? No, you have no jurisdiction over me. No jurisdiction over me, right? Not your property. Did I do anybody harm? Did I do you harm? No. So you can tell me that I broke some fictitious law that you created, but it's all fictitious. It's all paper. Anything that's over here is a paper system. Unless you actually went and, did a crime on somebody, then there was a harm and a trespass, then you're going to honorably own up to that if you're living in the living, breathing world. And as you start to be that and own that, you start to really see clearly that there are people over here dressed up in little police uniforms that want to actually be the protector and the helper, and they're caught up in the system. Those people are going to wake up and they're going to be like Nathan in Saskatoon and step away. They're going to say, I'm done with this system. It is diminishing my sense of self and well-being. Like the doctors and the teachers that are saying, I didn't sign up to watch little kids with masks on all day long and see that they're spitting bacteria into their masks and thinking that this is why I became a teacher, to help kids and watch them get sicker. But that's an individual choice. So to ending the tyranny is about recognizing first who you are. So who you are is a living, breathing man, woman, sentient being, okay? And you've consented by doing nothing to change it into the system. And once you realize, oh my gosh, it's like once you realize you've done something incorrectly, you want to correct it. So now go, oh my gosh, I used to think that you guys had some power over me. I'm so sorry, you don't. I have the power over you. You work for me. So if you're going to help me, you're going to help me. But otherwise, you're out of my jurisdiction. Okay? We never needed the governments of any part of the world to give us our rights and freedoms. It's great that there's an American Constitution or Canadian Constitution or Bill of Rights, a Canadian Charter of Rights, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. Those rights are unalienable rights that were given by God, creator, higher source, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. That's the point of this world. Free will, freedom to choose to know who gives you life and who gives you fictitious systems. This, as I was talking to somebody today, this systems in this world is the hell. We've all been in democracy. It is like Stuart said, it's democracy, because it's crap. You get perks, you get some privileges, and the perks and privileges are good, right? But they've also trained us how to be a good consumer. You over here, you still are paying for everything to have rights, right? You're paying to get your driver's license, you're paying your taxes, you're paying. And meanwhile, they're spending, the governments. And then they come back and they tell you, oh, one says, oh, where are we going to pay for this debt? We're like $1 trillion, because they're playing a good Monopoly game. It's a digitalized currency thing going on back in the computers. They're just saying, oh, we need another $1 million. We need $1 trillion. Let's send that over there. And then they're telling you, oh my gosh, you're going to have to pay us, that sales tax. Like it's all fictitious, and we're waking up to this fictitious. So to end the tyranny and to discover that the police, it's starting to see them heart to heart, but knowing that you're the one that's in the power. And when you can able to look them in the eye, okay, eye to eye, heart to heart, and say, I see you. And if you truly, like, this is what the beingness of what you're saying, you're not saying that to them, you're saying that in yourself. Like, it's as if they truly want to serve and protect. They have to realize they've got to give up the idea of serving and protecting, because they're serving and protecting this fictition. If they really want to help a living, breathing soul, they really want to be there to aid humanity in moving forward in love and in peace and in harmony, then they're going to step out of this, because this has to be reformed, because all the paperwork, all the police acts, all the justice system, all the legal system, it all works together and it all points fingers at each other. In Prince Edward Island, oh my gosh. So the lieutenant governor never signed the friggin' orders here, okay? The secretary in executive council certifies that it's signed. Then the orders say that the health minister was in agreement or something with the lieutenant governor in council, right? They're all different names. And as you read, you start to see the language. And as you start to see the language, now I get why I'm here, because in all the healing work I do, I work on words. I work on words and getting rid of the beliefs and unspelling, changing the words so you get the space. And now it's all about the legalities. So now I'm going to help everybody unspell the legalities so we can be lawful and we can speak the language easily. And once we speak a different language, when I say I'm a living, breathing person and I signed that summons off to them, it is not their lingo. It's not their lingo. So I never gather, like they tell me, all their laws say we can't gather more than 10 people now. I assemble. When they say you reside, no, I don't reside. I don't reside and I'm not a resident. Resident, that res word is like about being a thing. And that's what they did. They put people in reservations. You're a resident, you reside. No, I live. I live on the land that's commonly referred to here on Prince Edward Island. So as you change your words, you change your beingness, you change your vibe, you get rid of this idea that over here anybody's going to help you. That's the fiction. That's what you're turning around from and going, thanks a lot for showing me that I thought you were helping me. But you are where I'm saying, no, the power lies within me. So that's what I'm going to start with, ending the tyranny for now. And we'll continue this conversation because it really is about who you're being, and then the words you're actually speaking. And in that delivery, you're sending out that vibration and it will ripple out and have the effect on the person that you're having and in your community too. It's like being the lighthouse. So practice, even if you're just saying it out loud to yourself in you're a living, breathing man, woman, sentient being, okay? Skip their identification with you that you're a person, okay? You never identify as that full name in capital letters. You're a living, breathing man and woman, and you can call me Jacqueline, okay? And now I even sign off my emails. I'm getting into the Jacqueline with a little J, and I'm doing it in red because I'm breaking the pattern. So what it is breaking the pattern of your belief system about this ever being real. Happy Thursday. See ya.